What is your guys' favorite race that you have played?
Halfling.
Why? And why?
I just like the flavor of the halflings. I like that they're a little bit more energetic and they're always up to just get into the next piece of shit. Like, they're just always ready to go. If someone says, hey, you know what would be a funny idea? Halflings are usually like, yes, it would, let's do it. And that's how I play D&D, because I never get to be a player.
No, that's how you do most things. You just instigate. It's like, oh, how about this? No, that sounds like a bad idea. And then Adam, no, do it. Yeah. That's great. Do it.
Yeah, that is how I exist.
Yeah.
I like the changeling a lot. I like roleplay, so it kind of fits in really well.
El Rolo character?
Yeah. Fucking love that guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you turned yourself blue there for a while, too.
Yeah, that's wild magic.
You blew yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all over the place.
What's yours?
I gotta say, probably my barbarian punchy Triton. It was just such an interesting fish out of water character. That I never... Maybe I'm just, like, fondly looking back on, like, the punchy side of barbarianing, but it was just such a unique creature.
It's a Mimic, the round table Dungeons & Dragons discussion, where you never know what you're going to get.
Hello and welcome to another episode in our conversation on playable races. I'm Kyle, and with me today are Adam and Dave. And this episode is called Firbolgs, Goliaths, and Tritons, a giant helping of surf and turf. In our conversation about playable races in D&D's 5th edition, we've already covered all the player's handbook races, the creepers from Ravenloft, reptilian and draconic peoples, Asimars, Aarakocras, and Genassis, even orcs and goblinoids. You can find all these episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and dozens of other podcast apps. Or you can jump over to YouTube and dig into the entire playlist called Off to the Races that we've built there. As the It's a Mimic podcast continues to explore the far reaches of the 5th edition landscape, we tend to get farther and farther away from what most people would call civilization. And out there, roaming the various landscapes are some of the most unique and interesting populations in modern fantasy lore. In this episode, the panel of Dungeon Masters is going to explore the rocky peaks with Goliaths, the deep woods with Firbolgs, and the cold, dark depths with the Tritons. Now, in 5th edition, there is very little to learn about these fantastic cultures, and what information we do have has been recently changed in Mordenkainen's Presents the Monsters of the Multiverse. So, what we're going to do today is cover each and every version of these guys that exists out there in the published 5th edition material. And we'll also give some insights into what else we've learned from previous editions, using our rusty gather information skill from 3.5. But before we get started, I want to remind anyone who's interested in learning more about Tritons to check out one of our previous episodes, 119, titled Sahuagin Armies, Other Otter Water Fodder. In it, we continue our conversation on Sahuagin as monsters, but we also discuss why Tritons are such good foes for them and deadly enemies against the players. Now, Mystic Odysseys of Theros gave us a couple of deadly Triton monster stats with the Wavemaster and Shorestalker. Do you think we need Goliath and Firbolgs to have specific cultural stat blocks like this?
Let's roll. I love this dice challenge. We should have been using this from the start. Right?
6.
Although I got a 1.
15. Yes, absolutely. This is what makes these races so much more interesting to play as a player and to DM for, right? There's more opportunity. There's more directions you can go in as a DM with a character or as a player. The more options, the better. Why wouldn't you?
See, do we need them? No. But would I like them? Yes. But in all honesty, I don't think either one of them was really designed to have it. You know, like, these are pretty far-flung creatures who are hiding deep in forests or high up in butt-fuck-nowhere mountains where you don't really travel. So, I mean, I don't think they were necessarily designed for more encounters like that, but I still think it would be fun to have.
I mean, I think it comes down to whatever the module is that you're playing, right? Like, I know the Goliaths show up in Rime of the Frost Maiden when you're up in Icewind Dale, because there's a lot of mountains and it's cold and there are barbarian tribes up there, so Goliaths just naturally fit. It was weird we didn't get unique stat blocks when we were getting weird, very specific stat blocks for undead gnolls and kobolds, but we couldn't get a different kind of barbarian Goliath. Now, it doesn't take much to just use some of the basic veteran or berserker stats or whatever that exists for the NPCs already. But I'd like to see some cultural things like shamans or shamans, however you want to pronounce that, right? Or specific kinds of druids that would be Firbolgs specific would be nice. It's weird we don't really have a foresty campaign yet. We got swamps, we got Underdark, we got Arctic, we've got cities, we've got Undermountain, we've got, did I say Underdark already? We've got... We've got all the dungeons that are in Tales of the Yawning Portal. We've got coastal shit from Saltmarsh, but we don't... Like, forests are so important.
Yeah, but I think that in most of those campaigns, you're going to have a forest encounter. There's going to be a forest in it.
Yeah, but you're not out in the wilderness where there's no city for 3 chapters.
What about Tomb of Annihilation?
That's jungle. It's all very wet and swampy and...
What's a jungle but a wet forest?
Yeah.
As someone who lives in a temperate rainforest, you should fucking know better.
Nah, it's fine.
Oh my god, that just makes me twitch.
All right, well, let's roll some races. That sounds bad.
That sounds bad. Everybody roll your races.
Oh, Dave, 18.
I got a 2 and going last again. Dave, I guess you're winning.
Take us away with your Triton beauty.
Take us a wave with my Triton beauty. All right, so guys, I got the Triton. And, I mean, this is, of the 3 we're doing, this is the one I've actually played before. And, again, like I said before, really do enjoy. Now, Tritons, they're underwater creatures. Traditionally, they're blue, more blue than anything else. They have, they're humanoids, 2 arms, 2 legs, looking like a person. And they tend to have, like, green flowing hair kind of thing, kind of like floats nicely and majestically in the water, right?
A mermaid with legs.
No, because whereas, I mean, I guess, yes, I was going to say, they're not half fish, but that's with the legs.
Yeah.
But
in 5th edition, there are merfolk, and the merfolk themselves have like one big mohawk like fin. They're bald, they have no hair, I think they can breathe water, but they don't go on land. Like they're
not amphibious.
Not really. Like they can, but it's going to be a bad time for them.
I always thought merfolk were a little more mischievous as well.
A lot of people play them that way. That's not hard baked into the lore because there's very little lore about it. Again, if you go back and listen to the Sahuagin episodes, we actually cover all of the merfolk, all of the Tritons, all the Sahuagin. And I think the Kuatoa and the next one, like we covered the aquatic races that you can play. And they're all distinctly different. Merfolk and Tritons are closest aligned, but Tritons are a little bit more badass and a little less exotic. Like a Triton could walk through a coastal shore and you'd be like, oh, okay, that makes a certain amount of sense in some places. If you see merfolk, whether it's mermaids or mermen or however you want to play that, it tends to be out in the middle of nowhere, and it's rare that they would really interact. I don't think they speak common.
Well,
I could be wrong on that.
They don't exactly walk around on the shore.
Well, exactly, but they don't even come into harbors to trade or anything, whereas sometimes Tritons will. Like Tritons are kind of half merfolk, half human, right? They bridge that gap a little.
Yeah, they're amphibious. That's they're both air and water. They do have fins on their lower legs, like specifically below the knee, coming out of like the back of their calves. They've got fins down there to help them swim a little bit better, and as well as they got like the webbed hands and feet as well. But from the pictures I was looking at, it seems to be more like half webbed as opposed to completely. So there's still a little more.
They have digits to be able to feel things and shit.
Yeah, they're a little more tactile, I think, right?
Yeah.
For specifically the Forgotten Realms Tritons, there is so much lore in Volos about where they came from and why they're here. They were originally from the Plane of Water, and while they were there, they were battling all sorts of the evil underwater creatures, water elementals, krakens, Sahuagin, and especially the Sahuagin. They were, the big mortal enemies. And as they progressed and got better at it, the Tritons started winning and pushing them deeper and deeper and deeper into the Plane of Water. And then they kind of noticed that the bad guys stopped showing up and became more and more rare, at which point they discovered that they had traveled over to the material plane and were wreaking havoc there. All right. So then the Tritons came over to the material plane and have kind of made it their mission to be guardians of the ocean, caretakers of the sea almost, keeping these krakens and sahuagin and other beasts of the deep.
Marrow's one other big one that they fight. Yeah.
Yeah. So now what they do is they're very much spread out throughout the ocean floor. They're not plentiful at all. In fact, it says specifically that sea elves and merfolk will rarely run into them. Like, they're not coexisting; they are defenders. So when you find these these settlements or villages of Tritons underwater, they're all mostly near like the mouth of a large trench, or near some sort of underwater portal that goes to a different plane, or somewhere where they can protect from things coming up or out.
Now, pardon the pun, but this is a deep dive. Is Bob from Reboot a Triton? He's got blue skin, he's a guardian, and he comes from the net.
They're in a computer. How? What?
He comes from the net, Kyle.
Yeah, they caught him. I'm tired. Get out of here.
Yeah.
He's got that like flowy hair as well.
As much as it flowed back in 1998 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure I've seen him as some sort of sea creature in one of the games.
Yeah, sure.
Right? No, he's not.
Okay.
He's a sprite. Yeah.
I know he is, but you're ruining my joke.
Good. I'm glad.
The joke was bad and you should feel bad.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm incapable of it.
Yeah.
Now, the Tritons that came to the material plane were volunteers originally. It's not like all of the Tritons came over to the material plane. They are from the plane of water, but there is quite a few of them here. And that's just really it. They are guardians of the deep, more so protecting the surface from the deep than the deep from the surface, which I thought was kind of an interesting twist on things. Mm-hmm. Normally you see like, well, we're keeping the land dwellers out of the ocean, blah, blah, blah. We don't like them. That's not the case with these guys. Mm-hmm. And they almost feel like they have guilt. It's their duty to protect it because they let this evil upon the material plane. Now, when they do venture up onto land, there are quite a few things they find off-putting. The idea of not being able to go up and down like you would in water. You can't swim in the air. That's off-putting to them. They don't like it. It's such a foreign concept.
Fuck this 2D plane.
Yeah.
Right? They also are weirded out by the changing of the seasons. Right? Because that doesn't happen underwater.
Yeah.
So
I guess snow would fuck them up the first time they run across it. Eh?
Sort of. They are resistant to cold because of the
I mean,
psychologically
fuck them up because this is water turned solid.
Frozen water. Oh, I mean, I'm sure there's ice in the ocean.
I mean, I guess.
Right?
I guess.
Yeah. Right? Like, they're going to be familiar with it. It's weird how, you think about underwater plants. Okay, they don't go through these seasonal changes like trees and other plants do, right?
There's like algae blooms based on seasons.
Sure, but it's not as prevalent as it would be.
Seaweed doesn't lose the weeds once a year, right?
Yeah, they don't fall. They don't turn brown and fall to the ocean floor.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. But because of this disconnect from the material, or not from the material world, but from the land-dwelling peoples, they also have a strange disconnect from culture as well. They don't think that the politics of land-dwelling peoples is very important. It's like, well, I mean, look, guys, there's almost an air of arrogance to them, right? We're the protectors, and you guys are dealing with these petty squabbles. Like, what's this about? Why aren't you guys just getting along? The idea of military alliances and treaties. It's like, no, that's weird. Why are you like this?
They have a rather rigid hierarchy.
Oh, yeah. And when they come to the surface, they almost demand a level of respect and are kind of confused and often a little butthurt when they don't get it. Mm. They expect that people know their story, know why they're here, and know that they are the defenders. So why aren't they listening to me right now? Why am I not in charge? What's going on here? This is absolutely ridiculous. Now, that's the Volos side of it. They redid it for the new Mordenkainen's of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Redid is maybe a stretch.
We're going to get that name wrong in this podcast.
It's because I don't respect it.
No, I don't respect it.
Okay, so now for the Tritons, they give you a paragraph and a half, one of which is the description, which is just essentially what I said before, web feet, fins on the legs, that kind of thing. And other than that, it says they're from the elemental plane of water, and the threat spread to the material plane, and now they have stewardship over the ocean floor.
There's nothing at all about their culture, and there's nothing at all about how to role play them, which seems to be a new theme, as do it yourself, whatever you come up with is right, which feels really wrong.
Yeah, because part of the fun is digging into the lore and what people expect from them and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, it also talked in Volos about how they're doing things for the greater good. They're willing to lay down their lives and sacrifice because they are these ultimate guardians, and they took that right out.
That's because somebody wants to play Ariel, and it's not in the instead of giving us information and then saying ignore what you want, they give us nothing and say make it up.
Is that really what they're going for, or is it just they didn't want to release a 600-page book?
No, it is specifically that because they came under a lot of fire for orcs and drow over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I know all that stuff.
Right, and so the idea is that there's no right way to play a race.
Yeah.
Therefore, there's no wrong way to play a race. Therefore, make it up and do what you want. Instead of them leaning into the idea that there are gods and creatures that are creating these sentient beings that have their own cultures that are enslaved from the very beginning of their existence. Instead of going into any of that shit, they're just like, no. These ones are just from the Underdark, and so they've got darker skin, but they're just like other elves. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Tritons are whatever you need them to be. They're the underwater ones. So do what you want with the underwater ones. You can be Aquaman, you can be Ariel, you can be anything in between, or something radically different, and it's all okay. But I want to have those rigid boundaries to work within. The thing to subvert, right? The ideas to rally against, to break free from.
Remember in 3.5 there was level adjustment when you were trying to play a normal non-player race?
I remember.
Right? So you would have these incredible stat increases and bonuses that would make a base creature far more powerful. Like a level 1 centaur was not equal to a level 1 humanoid.
No.
So you had these level adjustments, right? I feel like if they dipped into that mechanic, they could make these races so much better.
I feel like if they just called them species, we wouldn't have this issue and we could have the lore back.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably oversimplification.
I've gone off about this like a number of times on this podcast about how this is pandering to the loudest voices in the smallest communities. And I'm not saying that it is bad to be aware of what other races are feeling. This is just a crazy overreaction. And they have robbed us of some of what makes 5th edition unique. It's just bizarre that we are playing in the Forgotten Realms. We don't get Forgotten Realms books.
Yeah, well, I'm curious to see what happens, right? Because they did this now, and then they're just kind of waiting for pushback. And then the next time something comes out, you'll see a leveling out, right? So I don't know. I have hope for the future. I don't think it is necessarily a permanent change.
I think it's going to last this edition the same way that the Satanic Panic hit AD&D.
Yeah.
Right? And it just removed... All of a sudden, we couldn't use the words demons and devils anymore. We'll come back round to this in 7th edition.
Yeah.
Right? And it'll be lineages or species or peoples or something, right?
Yeah.
And we'll have unique cultures again. Also, I'm hoping we get rid of the Forgotten Realms, that we pick something else to play in that's equally as fun and...
A little more forgotten.
Yeah.
Well, as opposed to the Forgotten Realms and the new Mordenkainen Tritons, there's also the Theros Tritons. Okay, because, we're on Tritons.
Yes.
Back to Tritons.
Back to Tritons.
Now, the Tritons and Theros are from the Siren Sea, which is a very particular area of the map. If you understand the Theros map, there's a little pot over here, Siren Sea. Okay, that's where they're from. It specifically says that the Theros Tritons are scaly. That wasn't the case for the Forgotten Realms, for the Volos or the Mordenkainen's ones. And the Theros ones have these crests and crowns of like coral-esque headgear that like come out of the top, so they're a little more pointed. They're not these like flowy hair creatures anymore.
They look more alien, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're infused with the power of, the gods, right?
Yeah.
They still have the webbed hands and feet and everything, but they're not the protectors of the surface from the depths anymore. In fact, they see that any like seafaring or sea travel is an incursion into their territory and do not take kindly to it. Mm-hmm. In fact, they will actually like raid shoreline villages and that kind of thing. They're not all friendly as you get from the other side of things.
They're more hostile, but they don't have Sahuagin or anything else in Theros to fill that niche, right? So
Not
if you
really.
want water raiders, you have Tritons.
Yeah, the biggest thing they would have been fighting is what, the Tromocratus? Like,
Yeah.
that's about it.
Well, tons of Krakens, but
Yeah. It is not that uncommon to see Tritons and Theros living on the land. Although it happens in the Forgotten Realms, it is quite uncommon. Like, almost like very rare. In Theros, that's not the case. Like they're around. They live in cities. There's the Theros district the Triton district in Metropolis. I think the city's called.
I don't know, man. Theros is one of my I love the Theros book, but it's such a different dive.
It's a different feel. You got to kind of be in the right mood for it. And of course, it wouldn't be Theros if we didn't mention their piety. They do pray to the god Thassa, who is the god of the sea. I think I had the Thassa card, and along with Thassa's trident, when we were playing Magic cards way back in the day, Kyle.
Yeah, that is a long time ago.
Yeah, I think that was 2014.
Yeah.
So Thassa to me is always kind of one that stuck out to me a little bit more than the rest. They believe that she will bring ascendancy over sea monsters for the people that follow her. And the Tritons and Theros are also very curious of the surface dwellers, so they actually take great interest in things like shipwrecks and other underwater ruins and stuff that might give them any insight into the lives of the land dwellers, right?
I feel like they're more proactive, whereas the Forgotten Realms Tritons would keep you at arm's length, and we'll have our battles, you stay over there. These guys are very much in your face and interactive as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Now for their traits, for the Forgotten Realms and the Theros Tritons, they do get a Strength, Con, and Charisma boost. They all get a +1. They age the same rate, so they hit maturity at 15, and they can live to up to 200 years. Both of those things are taken away in the new Mordenkainen's book. It's just creature type, and it says you are a humanoid. Great.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The Forgotten Realms and Theros Tritons are a little bit shorter than the average human. Most of them are about 5 feet. And in the new Mordenkainen book, it just says, you are medium.
Yeah, they got rid of sizes as well because, there's no body shaming.
Right?
That mine has a size.
In Morty's Maniacs
Monsters of the Multiverse?
Yeah, so it just says size, you're a medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got rid of the Firbolg one as well.
Oh, okay. You're talking about like height and...
Yeah.
The height weight tables.
The thing that they did get right for all three is the speed. They have 30-foot speed, and that's a 30-foot swim speed as well. They're all amphibious, which means they can breathe air and water, and they speak common and primordial. That's the way it is through and through, all of them. They also have resistance to cold damage. That's because, they live at the bottom of the ocean. It's cold.
Yep.
Makes sense. And they have an ability called Emissary of the Sea, which allows them to communicate simple ideas with other sea creatures. Okay. They also have one called Control Air or Water. Now, this allows them to cast Fog Cloud once per long rest. At level 3, they can use it to cast Gust of Wind. And at 5th level, they can cast Wall of Water, which is a Triton-specific spell. Okay.
Cool.
What it does is it allows you to summon a Wall of Water. It can be 30 feet long, 10 feet high, 1 foot thick, or it can be a circle with a 20-foot diameter. All right? And that is 20 feet tall and 1 foot thick.
So you can raise a ship 20 feet up off the surface of the ocean.
No,
Part of a ship, maybe. Because I'm just imagining this like huge gust of water, 1 meter thick.
I was kind of
ring?
thinking of these as more like being on the land. You get a wall of water around you to protect from outside forces.
Yeah, I was just. Is it? I'm sorry. Is it a ring or is it like it's full circle of water?
It's a circle. Like it's a ring that goes around you that is a 20-foot diameter and 20 feet tall.
Okay, so it is just a circular wall. It's not filled in.
No.
In my head, it was filled in.
No.
Still, I would absolutely lift a ship up with it. If the ship is longer than 40 feet, then up it goes, and then I'm gonna drop it.
Yeah.
Just fuck you.
Yeah, no, the wall is difficult terrain to get through, so like you can get through to the other side. Also, if you cast fire, like someone casts a firebolt through it, when it hits, if it goes through the wall, it does half damage. And if they use a cold spell to go through it, it'll actually freeze a 5-foot area of the wall. And if that thaws or breaks or is removed, the water doesn't fill back in again.
Oh, you just make a door. Cool.
All right.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a neat little quirk to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's kind of a neat little like Triton only spell. Again, you get that at 5th level, and it's a once per long rest kind of thing. Now, some of the differences were alignments. In the Forgotten Realms, they are lawful good. Period. In Theros, they're more neutral, and in Mordenkainen's, they're not.
Whatever you want them to be.
Yeah, there is no alignment. The other big difference between Theros and the regular ones is the Theros Tritons have dark vision, and that is a defining feature between them.
How much?
60 feet.
Good. I mean,
Yeah,
fucking
they should
good.
have it.
They should have. Look, we bitched in the past about this as well on the podcast. When Theros came out, we did a little happy dance that yay, they finally get dark vision. Did that carry over into Morty's Many Maniacs?
No. Oh, sorry. Yes, it does.
Good.
They do get dark vision.
Is it still 60 feet?
Yeah, 60 feet.
That's good.
Yeah.
But they should have it. Like I would be pissed if they took it away again.
I mean, yeah. Like, why would you not? Like, the ocean is dark,
That was
Right.
the argument that we were making before. Yeah. So
right? If creatures of the Underdark get dark vision, why do creatures of the ocean not? And even then, you look at someone like a Leonin, they get dark vision. That's kind of a weird one. Why do like I get it,
Cats.
cat-like eyes, sure, but like they're surface dwellers. It's
cats should not have dark vision. I don't come at me. This is a fucking meme in the D&D community and shit. Cats should have dark vision, and I will say it for the 1,000th time. Dark vision is bestowed by the gods. It is magical. Being able to see in low light is not dark vision.
sure,
If you
but
have
they
an
don't.
absolutely black room, a cat cannot see in it.
Sure, but I mean, I
Okay.
think that's another thing that 3.5 did a little bit better was they had low light vision and dark vision.
They have dim in this. They just don't use it very much in 5th edition.
I don't think I've ever come across it.
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, dark vision just makes it so that you see things like it is in dim light. Right? So
Yeah, it's all grays and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's not you're not seeing full
yeah,
color.
but it's also limited. You can't see your whole like range of it as well. Like it dark vision just essentially gives you one better step of vision. It doesn't just let you see in the dark.
Yeah, look, even night vision isn't perfect. You're looking through the goggles and like it's green and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're still not seeing everything clearly, but it's certainly better.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, that also is amplifying light, right? That's already there, which is essentially what cats do, right? They open their eye, they dilate their pupils so that they can bring in more light to be able to see in darker things.
Yeah.
But
I got a quick question before we move on.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to weigh in on this because I'm not sure I have an answer. If a person wants to play a Triton and they don't own one of the books and they're going to go out and buy one of the books, which one is the right one to buy? Volos has the lore. Theros has the curious interaction and the weird alien ones. But Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse has the dark vision and a little bit more free-form playing. Which one do you think is the best version?
So I have looked in the new Mordenkainen's book for all of 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and I absolutely hate it. I want to throw it out the window. Right?
Okay, so not that one.
It's not necessary at all. I think the Theros Tritons belong in Theros. If you're going to do anything, do the Volos one 100%, but homebrew it so that you get your dark vision.
I guess that's kind of my answer too. Although I would 100% accept a Theros Triton walking around the Forgotten Realms.
Of course. I would
Yeah.
accept any creature from any campaign setting in any realm, right? Like,
Except you fucking Kenders.
Yeah, you know what you did.
Yeah, they probably don't.
Yeah.
Sure.
Kyle, where are you weighing on it?
Volos, for sure. I like the lore. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go with that one every time.
But that's exactly my point, right? That's what enriches. That's what makes me want to play a Triton over a human.
It gives me more honestly, for me, it gives me more inspiration when I'm writing a backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it gives me more to lean into, more ideas to have, and sort of... I mean, unless you're going over a session 0 and your DM is laying out every part about these races that are in your universe, it is... I don't know. It just, it kind of bugs me, I guess.
I should actually, Kyle, I'll hook you up. You know what? I'll put it I'll put a link on Reddit as well. I actually have, like, how to build a character backstory. I made my own sheets just to, like, shit you might not have thought about and fill in the blanks.
Okay.
I handed it out to my players before we started the current campaign, and I said, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
Pick and choose the things that you desperately want to play with, but use it as inspiration to build your own thing, because it's, like, 8 pages long. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a fucking beast.
Maybe that's what they need to solve this problem with the new book. You know, give you that, like, customizable background. Remember when we were doing our Candlekeep characters, we rolled randomly for everything?
Yeah.
We got a bunch of those random charts out of the back of Mordenkainen, the first Mordenkainen's book, and, like, rolled for everything.
Isn't it in Xanathar's? I thought it was
Xanathar. Yeah, it's Xanathar's.
Yeah.
But we rolled for all of those additional things. If we could roll, if there was a table for it, we rolled for it. Mm-hmm. And it was so much... Like, it was enriching. Like, it was nice to see. It was using those parts that you don't normally use. And I think that if you have that customizability to this lack of option, that's maybe your way to get through it.
I agree 100%.
Or like questions you should be asking yourself while you're building a character.
Yeah, they should have gone hand in hand, not, oh, by the way, here's some stuff.
Yeah. I still think that that there should be a box set for new players that has 5 books in it. The 5 books should be how to build a character. So that's one. Everything you need to know as a player. That includes session 0 and table etiquette and what to expect and step-by-step how to build a character. It has all of the playable races in it. And all of the classes, and maybe not all the subclasses, but a majority of them, right? Then you have your DMG, which is rules. Here are your rules. Hard stop, rules. Mm-hmm. That's it. This is what you need to run the game. And by the way, here's a section on how to run a session 0, how to pick theme music, how to and that kind of flesh it out. Use descriptive language, that kind of shit.
And how to be a storyteller.
Yeah. Then you have your monster manual, your spell compendium, and your lore compendium, right? Which is, hey, you know what? Take these monsters from the monster manual, and if you apply them to Theros, and you just have chapters on kind of the base history and geography from about 7 different campaign settings. Bam, there you go. You don't need any other books. You're good to go. And you charge $300 for the whole fucking thing, but people will goddamn buy it because it comes in a box set. It's the only way to get them, and there you go.
Yeah.
A lore
Wizards
book
makes its money.
A lore book would be incredible. When I was doing the Tour of the Multiverse for Eberron, it was all in one book. But my God, was it difficult to find. It was, I want to research one topic. It's in 7 different spots. Like, it's unwieldy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that way, every time that you release another campaign setting, or you don't release a campaign setting, you release jungle adventures, right? And this is all about jungle adventures, and then it's different monsters, or how the regular monsters fit in a jungle. What the lore is for the jungles in Theros, in Ravnica, in Forgotten Realms, in Greyhawk, right? And you can... Then you're hitting aspects of the game for people to buy. Oh, hey, I know we're going up to the Arctic. I'm going to buy the Arctic book, combine it with the original 5, and I got everything I need.
Yeah.
Instead of this fucking piecemeal, and then now they're just re-releasing shit, but shittier.
Yeah, here's some changes, but it's the same. It's essentially the same.
Well, welcome to Tritons, Goliaths, and Firbolgs, where Adam bitches about 5th edition.
Yeah.
I also absolutely hate that they named it after another, like, the same character they've already named the book after.
Well, we also have Mordenkainen's Fiendish Folio, which is one of the PDFs as well. So this is actually the 3rd one.
I fucking hate it. Just, like...
Make it big piece.
Or something. Or have some forethought and name it Mordenkainen Volume 1, Volume 2. So, like...
Well, that's actually... The Fiendish Folio is Volume 1, and there was never a Volume 2. So...
like, they should have fucking figured this out. Like, it's bullshit. Anyways.
All right, well, let's ask some questions. Let's roll. See who gets to go first.
I rolled another 1. God damn.
I rolled another 15.
You bumped me. I got a 13.
Oh,
I'm going second.
I got a 10. I guess I'm going last.
Am I going first again?
Yeah, that's just
I'm
right.
always going first.
Lucky Dave. So, Dave, what's one interesting reason why one of these characters would become an adventurer?
Because they've managed to block off the portals from the plane of element, or the elemental plane of water. And the key to figuring it out is somewhere on land, and they have to adventure to it. They have figured out now that the reason that they're here is no longer applicable. Well, what do they do? Right? That's kind of where I would go with this. It's honestly, I would be inspired by the Warforged on that. They were part of the last war. Now what do? I like the idea of these different races kind of being, pardon the pun, fish out of water, and having to kind of explore this other side of things. Just like take the basic lore, but then forget about it and see where it goes.
Yeah, all right.
Honestly, it's baked right into the original lore that these guys are guardians, so there's something coming, right? The Kraken will be here next month. We've got to level up and get the items so we can fight them, right? Like, it's built right into it. If you're playing anywhere on a shoreline or in the coast, it makes sense for a Triton to pop up and be like, you should know danger's coming, right? And a herald almost. That I like that idea too, because you could have some NPCs be like, every time a Triton shows up, bad shit happens.
Yeah.
They're the bad luck. They're pariahs and evil omens.
Oh.
Right? So,
interesting.
so you can kind of play both sides. Like, no, I'm here to warn you. Like, no, you brought it with you. Right? Yeah. So that's kind of the plot hook that I would bring to the adventure. Like, aha, I'm here to be the guardian. Be like, yeah, but we didn't need a guardian last week.
Yeah.
So what the fuck, bud?
It's amend and defend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would depend on whether you're playing a land-based or water-based primary campaign, but I think it could be a fun idea that they are trying to become more worldly. So they have sent you out to document what life is like on the surface, so you can better interact. And your job is basically to go around and create an Encyclopedia Oceanica.
Actually, that's one thing that they did mention briefly about the Theros Tritons, is they are very curious. They want to explore the shipwrecks and everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of what they find does get passed down verbally. And so then once a Triton hears the thing, maybe they've heard it down the line of telephone, right? And now they're on land and they're taking it as gospel.
Yeah.
And it's just not applicable.
They pick up the 4-pronged utensil at dinner and go, I found a fuck.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just been lost a little bit in translation the whole way.
Yeah, that's kind of built right into the Theros ones a little bit as well. So, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. What kind of insights do you have for players who want to explore role-playing this kind of character?
Oh, these guys, I would have them as humorless robots. They would just...
That's every one of your characters.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Uh-huh.
But like, these guys are tailor-made to the not understanding the nuance of conversation, or understanding the idea of sarcasm, or understanding the idea of...
They're just Drax.
Why are these puny people... Yeah, exactly. Why are these puny people that are beneath me not listening to me? Like, I'm clearly their superior. I know better than them. What is this?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you really lean into this not understanding and almost offended by it.
Yeah.
My main insight for people that are going to roleplay a Triton is you can start off being that kind of arrogant early on, but I would drop that in the first 6 or 7 sessions. Have a learning curve, because the more time you spend with people, the more you're going to start to understand it. So, like, if you start at level 1, by level 12, if your guy still hasn't figured out how to shake hands, then you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Right? But additionally, on top of that, the other players around the table are not going to really want to deal with that level of, I'm better than you, for 7 fucking months.
No, you have to be a good player about it, but there's room to do it.
It's a fine line to walk, for sure.
Yeah, you got to have the right player doing it.
I think that someone like Terry would be great at it, but I've watched his characters evolve like crazy, session after session after session. Whereas someone like Dan would evolve in the session. Dan's an episodic player, so like it's like an episode of like the original Star Trek where everybody learns a great big lesson. We have this new race and we figured it out, and Spock's different now. But next week we reset and we're going to do it all again, right? And Dan very much comes. I'm playing my character, and he's always this. I've learned a valuable lesson this week, but I have forgotten it by the next session. So here we go. So I don't want Dan to play a Triton.
Yeah,
I would want Terry to play a Triton.
He sounds like a Kender.
Dan?
Yeah.
Dan's, well, I mean, there's a reason he plays gnomes so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would have said pretty much the same thing as you, Adam. Like, they have such a rich backstory. It's fun. And I kind of imagine them to be curious, naive, with a hint of condescension. But it can get so old so fast.
But, I think the condescending side of it is there's no offense made. Like, they're not trying to be...
Yeah, but offense
condensation because they're wet.
Yeah, but offense made and offense taken are two different things, right?
I agree, which I think would be an interesting dynamic.
Yes, but I think if you are going to go that way, you have to have room in your character for a little humility, right?
Yeah, or talk to the high elf at the table that's with you, and the two of you team up as being holier than thou, better than everybody else, and it's just kind of like a Waldorf and Statler.
The driest Waldorf and Statler.
Oh, yeah. Right. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. What class or subclass would be a good thematic fit for this race, and why?
Fletherin, my barbarian Triton, was a Storm Herald, and I couldn't imagine a better subclass.
Yeah.
The Storm Herald Barbarian was just absolutely wonderful. You add the cold resistance. The Storm Heralds get the aura as well, and you get to pick what with a desert or the different resistances
like the
you get.
Druids
so you can kind of pick to be resistant to cold and fire, and give some of those benefits to people around you. Like, it's just. I think
Fletherin was ridiculously powerful, and we only got like tier 2, right?
Yeah, she had an item that allowed her to gain advantage on every unarmed strike. And an unarmed strike did a D4 damage. So...
But she was able to, as a barbarian, go toe-to-toe, and all of that resistance, extra resistance.
Well, yeah, and you're hitting hard, like, and more frequently as well. You had that rage damage in there. It just, like, it worked out. But... The Storm Herald, like, definitely barbarian. Storm Herald was a nice flavor. These guys are not just fighters; they are brute warriors bred to fight the creatures of the deep.
Okay, so I built a character, and it's going to seem a little ridiculous, but this is the Triton that is not a warrior. While everybody else is sitting there manning the gates, that we have to make sure that nothing else comes through the portals. Right, and so we've got civilizations on either side of the portals and strongholds and whatnot, and everybody is trained from a young age to be a warrior, right? Because that's the Triton society. But this is one guy that he's a Bard College of Eloquence, and I would run him like C-3PO.
Okay, like speaks every language?
Not necessarily speaks every language, but thinks he knows the proper etiquette and protocol, and always it gets it wrong.
Yeah.
Goes, oh my. Oh dear, I'm not prepared for this. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. And that kind of a little bit nervous because I'm on land with these people. I should not be here. I just want to go home. But my society said, you should go over there. You're not helpful here. You should go over there, learn about the surface dwellers, and come back in 150 years. What's their lifespan?
Up to 200.
350 years. Come back.
Yeah.
and you are there to, I will learn things and I will help them. And then as a DM, I'm going to be like, okay, at the end of the campaign, we will return with your new knowledge. You actually will be the savior of your people. The same way that you believe you should be, but the player knows that, no, I was just kicked out because I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah. You literally just described Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what...
Right? Comes from the underwater culture, is a buffoon, gets kicked out, comes back as the savior. That's Jar Jar.
I'm not sure that he was the savior. He did put Palpatine...
He's a Bombad general.
Oh, fuck right
now. For me, I think you can make a pretty convincing case for just about any class or subclass, but in my mind, Blade Singer checks all the boxes. Like, a warrior trained from birth who's volunteers to go and fight in another plane to defend the oceans from them. You know, it's just like a blade singer is an all-around warrior. Gonna fucking kick ass and send magic spells.
Is there anything that doesn't feel like a good fit? Anything off the top of your head? If you go through them, like, I'm not really getting Artificer vibes.
I'm not getting Ranger vibes.
No.
Really? Like, out in the wilderness, if you...
No, they're more druidy than rangery, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I feel like you could be a Ranger of the... Look, Ranger's poorly supported. If we could get an appropriate subclass for it, it might work.
I also...
Because it is just wilderness shit, right?
Yeah, I don't think this monks fit. I know I just spoke about a punchy Triton, but I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah, they're more... They're not going to have a monastery, right?
Yeah. I mean, they could, but it seems unlikely.
I mean, I don't really see a bard for it.
Well, I came up with a pretty specific example, but I mean, they probably don't have books underwater, so it would be oral tradition.
Yeah, but they might have, like, scribes with dude on tablets.
Yeah, but plus College of Swords is really fighty and really good. It's kind of a blade singer.
Yeah. All right.
So,
what's one creative build you would be excited to play as this race?
All right, so Tritons, the depths of the ocean, okay? Great old ones, you know, Cthulhu mythos. What do you think? I think, like, depths of the oceans.
oh, are you going Warlock?
I'm thinking Warlock with some sort of tie-in to, like, one of my favorite Cthulhu mythos stories is Dagon, who's, you know, like the fish god. You could make him a patron, and it would be all sorts of wonderful.
I fucking love Dagon. Dagon is probably my favorite Lovecraft story.
Yeah. Short and sweet.
But I don't know if you know this, Dave, because you're not a big Warlock guy. You know there's a subclass for Kraken, like, patrons and
The
shit.
deep.
Like, it's the Fathomless, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. So they're actually beyond, like, you could do great old ones or you could go Fathomless.
I kind of like the idea of personally blending the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah.
Specifically.
The great old one has, like, psychic shit, and the Fathomless has other more aquatic-y themes to it.
Well, I would also homebrew the shit out of it.
Oh.
Right? Because there's got to be some good payoff there.
If you're going to go with, like, a warlock, especially if it's, like, a great old one, because if you're going by Volos, it feels like the exact kind of thing they would fight.
Right? So
a betrayer of your fucking people.
Great idea. I love it. Right? That could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You could also do, what's the genie one? The Warlock genie one, and then have a Merid as your fucking patron, because they're the water genies as well. Right? So, because there's a tie to the elemental plane of water through there. So that works for Warlock.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, it lines up so nicely with Paladin. You are a guardian. You are a military-trained individual. An oath of conquest, not necessarily vengeance, but an oath of devotion, even.
Yeah, right.
It can make a lot of sense. Even a reflavor for the Oath of the Ancients would make a lot of sense for one of these Tritons, these warriors from the deep, to come out and be a protector, right? To be able to, and you get in fighting styles too, like protector, or what's the one where you can use your shield to block others, and like there's a lot of really good options out there, and plus you get to smite, which is
always fun
with a trident, kind of neat.
Yeah.
All right. So I like the idea of there's something stirring up the creatures of the deep, but your people cannot figure out what's going on. So you have been tasked to go to the surface and find out what's happening. See if they have any idea. So I would play a blade singer, like I said before, but I take the spy background. And so he is pretending to go around writing this encyclopedia, but it's really just a cover for him to spy on different kingdoms.
I love the idea, too, that a lot of the kingdoms would just be like, yeah, I don't care, we'll tell you.
Yeah.
I have no secrets.
Yeah.
Doesn't really understand the idea of a secret.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they eat fish on Fridays. Key to their success?
A really bumbling, incompetent spy? That would be hilarious. Oh, like Inspector Clouseau?
Hey, Hey, we're going to keep this short and sweet. I know that I said in the episode that I was going to post online this kind of questionnaire that I hand out to my players, and I'm going to put it up on the subreddit. I'll explain that in a second. I just want to be really clear. This is not a comprehensive list for character building. This is kind of what I hand out during session 0 to inspire them to come up with new creative ways to build a character backstory beyond the class lineage background system that 5th ed encourages. It doesn't need to be completely filled out. As a matter of fact, most people will just ignore large swaths of it. This is kind of a living document that as my players come up with new and interesting ideas, I slam it onto the list for other people to think about in the future. It's like well over a dozen pages, I think. So go check it out. I'll put it in the episode guide that's pinned to the very top because I know I've posted this Google Drive link in the past and it's been buried. So there are a couple other documents in there that you're welcome to poke at. These are kind of half fleshed out ideas that we've spoken about on previous episodes that require more tinkering, and I encourage people to take a look at it and see if you can find inspiration in, I think there's a couple of crit tables and my quiver of chance that I talked about, oh god, way back when on a Rangers episode, maybe? Who knows? Anyway, I'll keep the link there at the bottom of the episode guide, so you may have to scroll for 10 miles past all of the episodes that we've released, but it should be there for you to consistently be able to check in whenever we mention we're going to throw something up online. We'll drop it in that Google Drive and it'll stay there. Anyway, let's get back to the episode.
All right, so Goliaths have remained almost unchanged since their debut in 3.5. They stand 7 to 8 feet tall, which actually is in the new Mordenkainen's book, and weigh up to 340 pounds of ass-kicking muscle, not ass-kissing muscle.
Well, I mean, let's not count anything out.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. If you read about these guys, if
they're walking
they're
behind
not big
a
on
giant,
kissing.
they might.
Yeah. They have a prominent brow ridge and wide jaw, giving their face a kind of Neanderthal cast. They've got green or blue eyes and stone-hard skin that is either brown or gray, and it's mottled with this kind of darker colored gray that's generally vertically symmetrical stripes that the Goliaths believe tell their fates.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they will never get tattoos, and they generally try to prominently display them.
So those are naturally occurring, because you always see them with these markings. And I've known many Goliath players just be like, and I'm going to get more tattoos.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is.
That is not what they're doing, yeah.
All right, cool.
And they are also littered with these things called lithoderms, which are basically coin-sized raised ridges of bone and skin that almost looks like there was something embedded under there. So I'm guessing that's where body modders first got the idea from. And the men are generally bald, but with body hair, whereas the women generally have dark hair that is kept long and braided. Reclusive by nature, Goliaths live in small, nomadic tribes between 40 and 60 members on desolate, high mountain peaks where every day is a battle for survival against their cold and unforgiving terrain.
That sounds like fun. I could do that.
Yeah, right?
Would you?
Yes, I have.
This is past the tree line. There is nothing but wind and cold.
It's like going above Dan's beard. It's just nothing but just bald, kind of gray.
And cold.
And cold. Kind of clammy.
Weird markings.
Yeah.
Displayed prominently.
Yeah, kind of lopsided.
Yeah.
And scaly things like bone-like. Body mods.
No, it's just above the beard. His body mods are beside the beard.
Oh, and below. We won't talk about those.
No, we're not talking about those.
Yeah.
Anyways, from that frozen crucible are forged some of the finest warriors with a strong competitive streak who strive to outdo themselves and each other every day. Few Goliaths ever really make it to old age, constantly seeking to test themselves against ever stronger foes and tests of strength, believing it preferable to die in battle at the peak of their strength than to wither away in decrepitness. Conversely, Goliaths also have a strong sense of fair play, believing that proper competition can only be had on a level playing field. So if they're fighting an enemy and their enemy loses a weapon, they might shed theirs as well, knowing that an advantage can always be lost, so they must always be ready. It isn't just about winning for them, it's about talent, dedication, and effort. The harder the victory, the more worthwhile it is to them. And while they're not evil creatures, they are strong believers in personal strength, and every member of the tribe needs to earn their keep. Those who cannot are exiled for the good of the tribe. So if you cannot keep up when their tribe is moving, you are getting left behind in the cold.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, survival of the fittest every day. As such, Goliaths have trouble understanding any society with a caste system. So nobles and peasants don't make sense to them. If you can't keep your rule through strength of arms and fighting prowess and intelligence, then you don't deserve it.
I wonder how they feel about elderly.
They leave them behind.
Yeah, but
They're outcast. If you cannot earn your keep, you are not welcome in Goliath society.
Yeah, but like when they go into Waterdeep, for example, and they go to the town hall and there's a 80-year-old, magistrar there. Give me someone who is young and able. I do not listen to you. You are going to be nothing but bones by the end of the month. Right? Like, yeah. I wonder if they just disregard everybody elderly.
I think they'd have to kind of prove that they were worth disregarding. Or, prove that they're worth listening to.
Yeah, but the moment that they, give the dad sit up, right? Getting up, right? Like, the Goliath's like, oh, his days are numbered.
It's downhill from there.
I think it's more they'll just be confused about why he's in power. Like, you guys are just letting this old man run the city? Why? Why not just kill him and install a stronger person?
I do appreciate, though, that they're going to like wizards as well, because intelligence is a factor here, right? So, Gandalf is still going to be respected by them. Oh,
yeah, definitely. I think the general stereotype here is big, strong, dumb, braggadocious, because they love telling people about their most recent accomplishment, and always spoiling for a fight. And while that's not wrong, I feel it is also kind of incomplete. Like, I don't think a Goliath would take just any fight. They want a worthy foe, right? Something worthwhile.
Yeah, if they're going to bleed, it's got to be worth their time.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to pick on somebody smaller than them that is obviously weaker. Like, if there's a goblin, he's going to be like, no, I got better things to do with my time.
I'm getting more shades of Drax again. This is number 2 that's kind of giving me a Drax feel. The jumping into the mouth of the giant monster, right?
Yeah, and he likes to brag.
Yep.
I recently destroyed a dragon. Oh, what is the biggest foe you've ever killed?
Yeah.
In a way, it's kind of a savage kind of nobility, and the fact that they won't fight lesser beings if it's not proving their strength. As for traits, Goliaths are medium-sized humanoids with a 30-foot walking speed. Previously, they got +2 to strength and a 1 to con, but obviously they got rid of that in Monsters of the Multiverse. They also get the Little Giant trait, which gives them proficiency in athletics and lets you count as one size larger when determining carrying capacity and the weight you can push, pull, and lift. They also get the Mountain-born feature, which is Goliaths are naturally acclimated to high altitudes, even exceeding 20,000 feet, and have resistance to cold damage. Finally, they also get Stone's Endurance, where using your reaction, you can reduce damage taken by a d12 plus your con modifier. And you can use this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all those uses on a long rest. The wording has changed a little, but it is functionally the same as Volos.
What in Volos wasn't it once per short or long rest?
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, that changes things. That drastically changes things.
Yeah. Because
the short rest becomes something that you need a whole lot less, and you become more efficient with this, as you level up. Whereas before, this becomes almost forgotten by level 11, 12, right? A D12 is, it's useful, but it's not super. You will roll a 1 sometimes, right? So.
Yeah, so let's talk about some inspiration. Oh, another one.
Oh my god. Hey, it bumped me to a 19. I'm going first.
That's 3.
No, you rolled a 1. You stay with your 1.
No, you bumped me.
Dave, well, here, you don't have to go first this one time.
No, I bumped you again back to a 1.
No, stop touching my little clickety bits.
All right. What's one interesting reason why one of these creatures would become an adventurer?
Honestly, for more glory, right? It's one thing to stand on the top of the mountaintop and fight. Okay, so Goliaths in my head are mini stone giants. Stone giants also live on mountaintops. They're giant kin, right? Like they are giants. But they're bald, and they've got a kind of... I don't want to use the word primitive, because it gives you the idea that it's lesser somehow, but they have more rudimentary civilization, right? That they're not necessarily worried about the modern trappings of daily civilized, quote-unquote, civilized life, right? Yeah. So, and Goliaths and stone giants share the same terrain, so I would assume that they kill stone giants.
Well, so the history of Goliaths isn't properly known, but there is rumor that they are related to stone giants and earth genasi.
That makes sense. That makes sense based on their...
they call earth genasi cousins, so...
was that the Tao? Or yeah, that was the Earth genie is the Tao, right? So they're going to be kind of related to that as well. I could see them wiping out the stone giants and then saying, "I need the next foe. Mm-hmm. What's the next biggest thing?" My Goliath adventure at level 1 is going to kick open the doors to the throne room in the middle of a banquet and say, "I am here now. Who is your problem? Point me at them."
Yeah.
Right? I mean, totally out of his depth. This is okay, sorry, our problem is Strahd, or a Sararak, or a Tarask. All right, let me at him, right? And no, hold on, wait. But I would play confidently incorrect, like Dave does with his Leonin Barbarian.
Yeah.
Right? And just say, "I can do it," and be almost suicidal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, these guys would never shy away from a fight.
Yeah, I can do it. Although I think that if it was clearly like go swim in lava, they're not going to. There's no glory in killing yourself.
Yeah. No, it is dying while testing your strength for them. That is the thing.
Yeah, but...
like almost Viking-like, right?
Yes, I see there's glory in dying fighting a gargantuan rock, for example, ROC, the giant birds, right? A gargantuan rock. There's not glory getting picked to pieces by it, as like, even though... like, if you know for certain you're going to die, there's no valor in that, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily valor. It is, they would rather die trying their hardest to beat something that they couldn't, because it is to die in their peak form is really their ideal. They don't want to get old and weaker ever.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the role-playing side of it from a player's perspective. This is going to stop you from saying, "Oh, hey, the goblinoid horde is over the mountain. Oh, I will just go do that." The Goliath in the party will split the party every fucking time. Every time someone else goes, "Retreat," you'll say, "No!" You have to say no and still retreat, right? Like, there has to be some semblance of common sense.
Retreat? No! How about a regroup?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Dave, what's one interesting reason?
I kind of like the idea of these guys being so overconfident. Maybe they came across what they determined to be a lesser being, completely underestimated them, got their asses absolutely handed to them, got exiled from their tribe, and are now trying to find their previous glory to get back to their original status.
The halfling barbarian whooped his ass.
Right? Something like that. Right? It seems like such a slam dunk. You use the societal restraints that they have to motivate your character. Easy.
All right. I would have said that he was too old and weak to be a productive member of a tribe, and so he got kicked out, and now he is trying to find his glorious death in battle, where I think you can kind of rectify those two ideas of, still wanting to die in battle and willing to go out and put yourself there, but also wanting to wait for that proper battle where you're like, this is the one I am willing to put my life on the line for, in a way, kind of sense of glory.
That's a one-shot character.
Yeah, it could be. But
Goliaths feel like one-shot characters, though. They do feel almost lawful stupid, right? Like, "I can do it. We will do it. This is the right thing to do, and I'm going to do it." And then they get just run over by the carriage, right?
Yeah, I mean, they do give you a couple options in Volos where it's talking about sometimes they are kidnapped as children to be used as gladiators in various settings. So, I mean, you could have one who wasn't even really raised by a Goliath society, so it doesn't need to necessarily fit that motif, I guess. All right. What kind of insights do you have for players who want to explore role-playing this kind of character?
one of the things about all of the creatures that we're talking about today is that they come from the outskirts of society. And as much as you can play the fish out of water, and that's easy enough to do, that is a good hook. All right, I'm not shitting on that by any means. There still has to be a level of intelligence and the ability to learn. It's going to be just as effective what do you do during your short rest? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk to the half-elf and find out why they wear shoes, right? And that's what I need to do for the fish out of water. I'm not getting in the way of social encounters, right? However, I think that when I'm going to roleplay a Goliath specifically, exploration pillar is the challenge. Almost more so than combat, right? Because I can climb it, I can get there first, I can get there faster, I can do it bigger than you, I will race you to the top of the cliff, I can jump it, just watch, right? The exploration pillar is going to open up. So I would be thinking about things like climbers kits and not necessarily herbalism kits or anything, but things like natural environment. And the idea that now suddenly you get to go to an environment that you've never been in before. I've done mountaintops. That's cool. What is this desert you speak of where it's warm? I could do that. Yeah. And climbing goes down and not up. Okay. Right. And that's kind of how I would want to lean into my Goliath. Excited to explore.
Yeah, I look at these guys, and they are actually something that I'm interested in playing in, or something I'm interested in playing as.
Really? You don't say. This is such a Dave character race.
It is, because, and you hit the nail on the head, it doesn't need to be roleplay heavy. I think that they give you a lot of good information on what they're like and where they're from and how they react to things, but I also think that you don't necessarily need to explore every side of a character. I'm the kind of player that I undervalue the social encounters. I undervalue the role-playing of it. I'm sure, Adam, you hate it when I'm a player in your Sunday D&Ds.
Okay, all right, listen. For those of you who don't know, which is everybody except, I guess, Dan, Dave and I have gone off about this recently in like our private lives to figure out what he can get more out of the character that he's playing. He's playing a Leona Barbarian. I'm like, what kind of role-playing opportunities? What's your backstory? He's like, I don't need that.
You know, I'm good. I want to fight. I want to use the stuff I've got. I've got 8, I'm a Wild Surge Barbarian. I've got 8 different magical things that happen every time I rage. Cool, let's play with that for a while.
Yeah, Dave's here for the plot and the mechanics more so than the role-playing, which is really old school 3.5.
Yeah, I want collaborative storytelling. I don't need to sit down and have a conversation with everyone. It's a waste of my time. I don't want to do town time. I fucking hate that. And I know that this is probably, not that we've really spoken too much about it, probably a point of contention for you on Thursdays. I feel like that's probably an area of the game that you would enjoy exploring and that I can't provide. It's just not in my wheelhouse. Yeah. Right? Like,
it's not really a point of contention for me.
That's the wrong way to say it. I think you could get more out of it than I got in.
You're not, look, right? Role playing is the third pillar for you.
No, it's the fourth pillar. Like, it's it's not for me. And like, to be fair, we have had some great role play heavy sessions. We have had sessions where we didn't roll dice. Mm-hmm. You know, it was all just social encounters, talking to new people, getting the lay of the land, moving on. We did one with the shopkeep a couple of weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that was neat. That was fun. It drove the story on a little bit. It allowed you guys to sort out your literal baggage, and move on, right? So, like, there's certainly use for it. It's just that's not where I come from as a player, and I think that these guys really suit that.
I think that you role play more enough, rather, as a DM. It scratches that itch. Everything that you need. You have capacity for role playing of 3. When other people have a capacity of 100, and you do that when you DM on Thursdays, so that by Sundays when you're a player,
I'm burnt out.
Yeah, I don't need to talk to people. I just let me hit them with an axe.
I'm remembering that like 4 goblin conversation I had with myself. It went on for a while.
So yeah, I get that. You're right. Goliaths are relatively simplistic as far as their society goes. Like it's 1 or 2 notes and that's what you got, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can play a Goliath, not explore the societal restraints, I guess, that they have,
Limitations,
and not
yes.
miss anything.
But this is why I really like the idea of having, like you asked earlier, Kyle, the idea of having different stat blocks for monsters that would flesh out the Goliath culture, because there is precious fucking little there, right? Like, we can kind of read between the lines that we're talking barbarian, rangers, druids, right, over things like clerics. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of like praying to the gods, and there's not there are wizards, but there's not a whole lot of study going on. It's going to be different. It's going to be a blade singer, not a divination. You know, like it's going to be more. Again, I don't want to say primitive, but
it's martial leaning, right? Like they're big, giant, strong, right? And then so that's where their talents naturally lie, and that's what they're gonna do, right? So in Volos, when it's talking about where they kind of live, it is like desolate. There is not a lot of resources. You have to they have to constantly be watching. They have shamans and druids. Basically, they're going, oh, we're about to run out of resources. We have to move. We have to move somewhere that has resources, right? So it is.
They're nomadic, right?
Yeah, they are just trying to survive all the time.
And succeeding. Like, it's not a struggle, right? As a matter of fact, it's probably easy for them to survive, so they're looking for the struggle, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly, actually.
You're right, Dave. This could be a simplistic character. You don't have to think too much. Great for one-shots. But
if that's the kind of player you are. If you're like me, it's great for that.
But at the same time, you can look deeper into it and find more in their culture. What's it like to never have a home? Right? Yeah. And then suddenly you are staying in the same tavern, or the rest of the party decides you're going to buy a keep, and you're like, fucking why? Right? And it gives you more things to interact with and to play with, if that's the case. Whereas there are some that are like halflings, Dave. I don't see you playing many halflings.
No.
They're social by nature, right? And so that's like...
they're physically weak at the side of the game I enjoy. Why would I do that to myself?
Yeah, so...
See, I like these guys a lot, and I think there are important questions to ask yourself when you're looking at this player, right? And I think it will determine not just necessarily what kind of player you are, but how you can play them, right? I like the idea of asking yourself, well, what is your relationship with your tribe, right? Were you exiled? Did you willingly leave? Is this kind of like a Rumspringer for your character, right? Where you're just going and exploring and just seeing what else life has to offer. I think it is simplistic in nature, but there's a lot of ways to read between the lines with it.
Yeah, there could be hidden depths in there, and you can build it the way that you want to. I like the idea. I really like. Why are you adventuring? I've gone walkabout.
Yeah,
like that's it. That's all I need for a Goliath, right? Like, you need a little bit more for a hobgoblin, for example.
Yeah. All right. What class or subclass would you want to play with this?
I mean, we all know what it is off the top of our head, right? Like, barbarian.
Oh, yeah, clearly.
This is the built for barbarians.
Totem barbarian. Like, give me bear. Strength, smash, moving on.
I like that they're all about intelligence and whatnot. Because I feel like you could get a couple of wizards. You could be able to play a little bit of a Gish character so that early on, anyway, you are casting some spells while you're also focusing on the martial side of things. Although, honestly, by the end of it, I'm probably going to give up and keep going martial. Pick up 3 levels in wizard just to get something. But there are definitely some things that don't fit for me. But anything that's even... If you have a D10 or a D12 hit die, you can play a Goliath very well. It just kind of fits, right?
Yeah. Dave?
I think these guys would... I'm going to regret saying this, I'm sure. I think they'd make good rangers. They have a large range that they travel in. And it seems like a slam dunk.
All right.
Right? Easy.
No, I would say Druid, too. I like Druid a lot for their spellcaster, especially Circle of the Stars. I mean, you're on a mountaintop. You would have excellent views of the stars. Or, land, obviously, for the mountains.
Do you think that they would go out of their way to get bitten by a werewolf? I'm just thinking Circle of the Moon. I can become more powerful?
I don't think so. I think they're kind of traditionalists. And they are threatening their tribe if they become...
Or are they increasing
werewolf.
its power?
Yeah, because you turn into a werewolf and you're in camp and then you just end up murdering your thing. Like they're
Or turning
family
them.
oriented, right? Like they live in small tribes of 40 to 60 that are primarily extended family.
Well, there's your character right there. Your Circle of the Moon druid, because you went out, you hunted down a werewolf, you got bitten on purpose. You went back to the tribe and said, look what I can do. And they're like, whoa. That's not strength. You didn't earn that strength. We're going to try to cure you. And they could only undo it about halfway.
Yeah. All right.
So, exiled. Sorry. You're too much of a danger.
Yeah.
You brought dishonor, or it's not glorious enough. Out you go. Right? You're a wild card. So, like, I could see druid for sure. There are a few different interesting options. I'm not trying to go wildfire. But
No, probably not because they live above the trees. That really makes sense. Anyways.
They didn't used to.
Yeah.
The trees were up there. Yeah.
What's one creative build you'd want to play in this?
I'm trying to go through with some of the, like, obviously not... You know what? I bet that this would be a really cool rogue.
Okay.
You know, if I'm going to lean into the acrobatics, then the dexterity side of it, because how many times do you play, or do people play rogues that are like acrobats and circus people and shit like that? But a Goliath that is nimble and silent, and you could be a badass assassin as a Goliath, right? Can you imagine, like, oh, then we've got our assassin friend, and you turn around, he's like 8 feet tall in a massive black cloak, just like all you can see is his grin from underneath the hood. I think that would be, because they're going after the exploration, so they'd be able to do that, the dash and be the 8-foot Goliath that hides as a bonus.
Yeah.
Bonus action.
With disadvantage every time. Yeah.
I think it would be a lot of fun to be a sneaky Goliath. Yeah. Although I'm getting bugbear feel from it, right? The really big brute that just like tiptoes through the room in the background.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I was actually thinking druid for the unique build. I don't know why I really latched onto the idea of these guys being almost like a Sherpa kind of character, where they're used to traveling these high extremes of mountains, and they are good at naturally carrying things. Like it seems like that would be such an interesting profession that fits their character or creature type very well. And I mean, you add in just about any kind of circle, like druid circle with that. These guys are, the protectors of the mountains. They can help people traverse the mountains. I think there's a lot to explore with that.
All right. Yeah, I like the idea of doing Circle of the Land and then having the mountain as your sub one, and because you get like spider climb and shit. I think that would work really well thematically. That's cool. I like that. For mine, I actually talked about this on a previous episode. I'm really excited and I really want to play it. So I would go fighter, and I would either go battle master or echo knight. But I think battle master would probably work better thematically, but echo knight just has so much more fun in terms of flavor. So
they also feel like champions to me.
Yeah, champions too. But I would go unarmed combat, and then I would get the grappling feat, followed by fighting initiate to take thrown weapon fighting as well.
He's making a hulking hurler.
Yeah, and
doesn't exist to fit that. Thank God.
Yeah. So you can make an echo, make it run out in front of you, throw a couple axes, and then warp yourself to it, and then fucking tackle something to the ground. And my modus operandi would be, on any battlefield, I'm going to find the strongest motherfucker there, and I'm going straight for them. I'm going to jam an axe down their throat.
All right.
Okay. I really can't argue with that. Again, like, if you want a simplistic character that's just going to beat on shit, though, champion fighter. A Goliath champion fighter.
Yeah.
The synergy there just works for days.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I gotta say, when it comes to backgrounds, clearly there's one correct answer, and it's Outlander.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You get proficiency with athletics and survival. You get a musical instrument, but I mean, sure, you get war drums or whatever. And then a language of your choice.
Yodel.
Yeah, but all of the shit that you get, the equipment, like a staff, a hunting trap, a trophy from an animal you killed, right? That's so on point for a Goliath. That's like, there are lots of answers for the background to choose, but Outlander's the right answer, right? Like, clearly built with that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you've got any other backgrounds that you think would be a good idea for a Goliath, or you just want to tell us why we are limiting them too much, if you want to yell at Dave for not role-playing enough, you can reach out and talk to us on Instagram, Facebook, or at r/itsAmimic on Reddit, or you can send us messages at info@itsamimic.com. We're always looking for mailbag questions. We're getting more and more flooding in all the time, and you guys are getting weirdly personal with them now, and I don't know how to feel about it.
I appreciate them. The more personal, the better.
I want to see some of these.
Okay. Well,
you will.
Well, the one that just cropped up today was about how you lost your virginity. So we're getting real personal.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you don't want to get that personal, you could just leave us some positive reviews on iTunes or whatever app you're listening to us on. You could share us on social media, or you could spread us and the news of the podcast just with word of mouth. Make sure that everyone else at your D&D table is listening, because we really appreciate everything that you guys could do for us. We love the community, but we are not natural marketers. So, help.
Honestly, the virginity thing doesn't seem that weird to me. Like, it's probably just a quick story for most of us.
A little too quick? Oh. All right, so I have the last one, and that is Firbolgs. I specifically was excited to do Firbolgs because Dan is playing a Firbolg at my table right now, and he drives me up the fucking wall.
He would if he was any race
No.
at the table.
No. He chose a Firbolg, specifically Firbolgs who are not from the... they don't exist in Magic the Gathering, and they're out in the wilderness, and he picked a Firbolg from Ravnica, which is the giant city-state. What the fuck are you doing, Dan? Right? He's part of a traveling circus. And I'm going to explain why all of that is just wrong, and Dan is wrong, and just, god damn it.
Yeah, that's how we know it's another episode of the podcast.
Yeah, okay. So, Firbolgs come from a little bit of a Celtic origin. They're considered to be giant kin, although where they stand with giants, their true origin has kind of been lost in time in previous editions and whatnot. In 5th edition, they're called humble guardians and natural druids, and it makes people think of simple and primitive, well-meaning creatures. But there is a warning in Volos. Right at the very beginning, there's a kind of a little blurb, fictional anecdote from a character who's like, yeah, we were hunting a green dragon through the forest, and on the second night, we went to bed. We woke up the next morning, and the head of the green dragon was sitting in our camp. And our guide was like, oh, yeah, the Firbolgs probably did that, letting us know that we shouldn't be here anymore. There's no reason to be here. We need to leave. Right? So...
I love that.
Yeah, so they're not quite as herp-derp as everybody kind of immediately thinks they are. Also, there was a guest star on Critical Role. I'm not a critter. I don't know the specifics of this. I only know what I've read online, which is there was a guest star on Critical Role who played kind of a happy hippie kind of Firbolg, and talked about how her nose was kind of bovine, and with the big floppy ears as well, and the really kind of simple looking art that they gave for the Firbolg has given them a kind of bovine reputation. And as a matter of fact, we ripped on Dan for being a cow for the first about 10 sessions of our campaign. But there's nothing in the official lore about cows whatsoever. This is giants. They are giants. In previous editions, they were just short, pale, ginger-looking, big-bearded, Viking-looking guys with bare chests that were 8 feet tall, they were 10 feet tall back there, back then, because they were large size, and you had level adjustments like you were talking about earlier, Dave, right?
Yeah.
And they were ridiculously powerful, and nothing like these kind of blue-skinned, simple forest walkers that we have now. And there's still little bits and pieces hidden in the 5th edition lore that really ties them to being half giants, although we don't necessarily get that now in 5th ed. It's not official. It's been kind of abandoned, and I'm sure that in future editions we're going to get further and further away from that because they're going a little fey, which is odd.
I don't know. I can see it being a fae.
Well, let me get into it. So They say that these guys come from remote forest strongholds, and that seems to be why people say Fae, is because they're out in the forest. However, like elves and forest gnomes are as well, and those are both Fae touched, so it makes sense that the Firbolg who's out there with them would kind of share a similar ancestry. But no, they're giants. Like, they come from giant kin. They are in quiet harmony with nature, but they're skilled with weapons and druidic magic. So they're not defenseless. They're not pacifists by any means. They prefer not to fight, but doesn't mean they can't. They're called caretakers, and it says everywhere in the book that they promote balance and often give their extra food and resources to animals of the forest. If they have more than they can eat at the end of a season, they will just spread it out in the grazing areas of other animals and that will come and eat, and they will just, support the forest. They really have this thing that is this hatred for the concept of greed. They have no use for it. They despise greedy people. They have no time at all for gold or gems. Most are going to learn simple nature magic, and quite a few of them do become druids. That's right in the lore. They're secretive, and they like to work behind the scenes to keep deep forests and nature in this general concept of balance. So it's not about nature overall, it is about nature in balance. So they will cull a herd if they need to as well, for the overall good of the forest. They have no use for politics, and they don't really like having people on their land. You're welcome to pass through, but don't stay, don't linger, and don't affect things. When they're trying to keep people out, they use passive tactics to make the forest unappealing instead of just attacking. They will make it so that they'll redirect waterways so that there's nowhere for you to refill your water skins. They will make it so that the trees grow thicker and block certain passages, and they're just going to try to herd you out. They're shepherding adventurers and travelers away from their lands. You know they're near when the animals are gone and the forests are quiet, because they don't want hunters. They just send everything away so that you do not impact things. You just leave. Their big mentality is hurry up and get out. They will usually observe interlopers first, and if the interlopers are peaceful, then they may actually step out of the forest and politely ask you to leave. If you are clearly harmonious with nature, they may even try to befriend you and help you on your travels. And if it's going to help you, if they can give things to you to get you out quicker, oh, we're here to get a sprig of mistletoe for the spell. Here, take this, now leave. We will freely give it to you. You don't owe us anything. Fuck off. Right? This is not your land. But if you're clearly harmful or evil, they will retreat without ever being seen, muster their forces, and ambush with a devastating attack. They're going to come out of the woodwork, literally the woods work, and they're going to fuck you up and kill you and bury you in the woods because you are better for plant food than you are breathing. I'll tell you now, you are allowed to cut down trees because that's part of nature. They live in log cabins. So it's not like, oh, this isn't Treebeard. You're hurting the forest. We don't like you. No, you're allowed to do that. But if you're burning trees just 'cause, if you are throwing an axe at the tree just to practice your axe throwing, don't do that. You're just hurting the trees for no reason. Just leave. Most Firbolgs don't want to leave their homes. They love their homes. If they're adventuring, then their clan has been destroyed or they've been exiled. It's usually the former, as it takes a lot for one of them to become exiled because they're very family-based. Outcasts are never allowed to return home, ever. That is not a plot hook that you're supposed to lean on. You can't make up for your bad deeds and then go back. No. You got exiled because you murdered. Or you put the whole clan in danger, or you burned down a section of the forest, or you done fucked up. We won't kill you, but you need to leave and never come back. You're dead to us. So what this means is that most of them, when they are adventuring, are on a quest, whether they realize it or not, to find a new home, to build a new clan, and to give themselves a semblance of the same peace they knew before. Those whose homes have been destroyed are usually riled up to seek vengeance or to ensure that such atrocities never happen again. Very seldomly, a trusted Firbolg will be sent out into the world with an important errand or task. These Firbolgs often seem like lost wanderers in a strange land. They're totally out of their depths, just kind of like the Tritons being curious, right? Or the Goliaths who are just like exiled and out they go. This is another one of these races that are very, very rare in a city. Having the Firbolg bartender doesn't make a whole shit ton of sense, right? They're usually passing through going, is this a good place to be? There's a lot of stuff going on here that's what blacksmiths? Really?
Yeah.
Really? We're doing blacksmithing now? This is what's happening?
I would really I wish they kind of expanded on what they said where they get sent out on a quest. Like what curiosity is there for the outside world for a Firbolg?
It's not so much going out to learn a thing as it would be, hey, we know the goblinoid host is moving and they've been burning down forest on the other side of the mountain range and they're heading towards the civilizations there. We're not really crazy about the civilizations, but we got to send somebody to warn them, right? So it's that kind of getting a message out or going to deliver or get the thing. And it can be something as simple as, hey, this creature died and left behind this item. I'm just going to return it to you because we don't come looking for it. Just stay away. Here's the thing, right? And that could be the reason that you're out in the world. One of the interesting little details about Firbolgs, which I liked, is that they don't really understand the idea of names. When they're mingling with other races, they'll often adopt elven names, but usually they just identify plants and animals based upon what they do or how they act. So it's verbs, right? They're not going to sit there and talk, oh, the one with the scar is named Scar. It's going to be the chittery one is chittery, right? And it's all verbs and actions. They do consider their home to just be known as home. They don't have a need to name it. If they're talking to other Firbolg clans nearby and they have to differentiate which home, then they just describe where it is. So it is home by the waterfall. And then they go home and it's not like that's a new name. They just described where it is. The same way that we live in Vancouver, BC as opposed to, Vancouver, Washington. With outsiders, they're going to use the local terms that people have for different places and the landscapes and landmarks and different peoples and honorifics, but it's really just out of respect. They don't understand and they don't care to understand. Some Firbolgs will accept nicknames sometimes from others, but they really don't care. Like if somebody gives, oh, hey, they're Stretch, you're like, okay, I'm Stretch now. I don't care, but I'm fine with it. We can move on. So there's this idea of ownership, even with names, is something that they don't really hold on to. And this is an old holdover from previous editions. It says in the book that they're meant to be druids, rangers, and fighters. Do you guys have a little sidebar about breaking down the classes?
No, mine didn't have that.
Nope.
Because Firbolgs do, or at least they did in Volos. It's gone now out of Morty's masturbation monsters. It says specifically they are druids, rangers, and fighters. That's really fighty for the peaceful little cow people that everybody thinks they are. They're not. Their bards are lore masters because they use verbal oral traditions. Sorcerers are powerful guardians that are blessed to protect the forest and the home. And wizards arise from their contact with elves because really that's who they mostly interact with, is wood elves and forest gnomes. Rogues are usually scouts from afar. They're not assassins or masterminds. They're not in it for the fight. They're not in it to thieve. They're there to scout and understand, are these people a threat? And then go back and report. Barbarians are not common unless a clan is under constant threat, and then they can start to get angry and have their ire up, and then they'll go out and fight. Clerics and paladins obviously worship nature gods, but they're kind of rare. Warlocks are even more rare, but when they appear, they're usually dealing with archfey patrons. Almost no such thing as a Firbolg monk exists. Because of ideological clashes that they have, it does say that if there's going to be a Firbolg monk, it's going to be because a monastery took them in after the clan was destroyed and their homeland was ruined. So they took pity on the Firbolg. They took pity on the Firbolg and brought them in. But for the most part, they have nothing to do with monks. In the past, like I said, they were ginger, big red hair and red beards, but also notoriously pale. like me. They were 10 feet tall. They weighed 800 pounds. They were known to be stronger than a bear, and they could sense magical auras. They could even change size categories, kind of as a natural and innate trait. They had dark vision, and sometimes had innate abilities to heal themselves as well. They were usually lawful good in the Forgotten Realms, and this might explain why there's this holdover about why there are almost no monks, is because back in 3.5, monks were lawful neutral, so there wasn't a whole lot of overlap there. They believed in charity as the greatest virtue, opposite greed, which was the greatest sin. They were known to be cautious and shrewd and avoided other giants except storm giants, because storm giants are the good giants. When it comes to giants, they kind of stepped away from the ordning. The ordning is kind of the hierarchy of giants, if you don't know, but they shunned it and it shunned them. They were fine with it, and they even moved far enough away that while they did speak giants, they also spoke Firbolg. They have their own language that other people are not privy to knowing. Kind of like Druidic, right? So there's a lot of these leaning into the Druid side of things. In previous editions, it talks about how they lived in log houses that were 1 story tall. They ate very little meat outside of feasts and festivals, choosing to rather live off the land and to keep animals as pets. But I mean, sometimes you got to eat meat. They were more open to trade than the 5th edition counterparts are, and they were known to sympathize with and rally around anybody who got lycanthropy, because they get it really, really easily. Apparently, Firbolg werewolves and werebears were a consistent thing. And I think that that's kind of a holdover from The Hobbit. When they meet the werebear, who's kind of like a big giant man, that's kind of the theme in earlier editions. If you're looking for a little piece of how to roleplay the Firbolg, they used to have a specific thing called the Firbolg Code. And it was published in a couple of editions in Firbolg in the language. But it breaks down to a translation that says, bravery, effort, and honor over birth. The tribe's honor over yours. The blood of the runt is the blood of a king. Give 1,000 for nothing. Truth is the honor of the tribe. Which just goes to show lawful good.
Yeah.
Equality and balance for everyone. So if you're looking for inspiration about enemies, like who are you supposed to hate, there was a big war that happened thousands of years ago against the dwarves, so there's probably some sort of generational hatred there. But there was also a whole lot of Firbolgs that were enslaved by Fomorians, who were the giants from the Feywild, the big evil ones, that came out and enslaved the Firbolgs until they broke free a few hundred years ago. When it comes to the stats, you get wisdom +2 and a strength +1. You're medium-sized, and you move 30 feet. It says here that they are humanoids related to the Fae, and therefore have long lifespans. And that is the only mention of the Fae in all of 5th edition. That's it. Everything else says giant, but apparently this is weird, like, this has never been a thing in previous editions either. This is the first instance of Firbolgs being related to Fae.
It just builds on like their wild aspect, right? When I think Fae, I think nature, I think pixies, I think, magic incarnate in a natural setting, and these guys fit that bill.
Yeah, also when they were slaves to the Fae giants, right? Like, I'm sure they were in the Feywild.
It actually happened just off the Sword Coast. Like, it was a big deal.
Okay.
There's all sorts of information. I want to say 4th edition, but it might be earlier than that, about this enslavement. I think it was actually one of the adventures. You had to go rescue the Firbolgs. But yeah, you're right. Thematically, it makes sense, but historically, they're giant. Like, it's an odd blend. Anyway, the Firbolg reaches adulthood around 30, and they can live to be up to almost 500 years old. They're between 7 and 8 feet tall, so they lost 2 to 3 feet based on previous editions. They're between 240 and 300 pounds instead of 800, and this is because there were like a +2 level adjustment in previous editions because they were large creatures. It used to piss off DMs way back in the day as well, because you would be a large creature that could just innately turn yourself into a medium creature. So you could walk into taverns and stuff. So you got all the benefits of being large and none of the downside to it. So a lot of Firbolgs were banned back in the day. Your medium size, clearly. Now, you get Firbolg magic, so you can cast 2 different spells, Detect Magic and Disguise Self. You use your Wisdom as your spellcasting ability for them, and once you cast either one, you can't do it again until you finish a short or a long rest. What's interesting is that, again, we get to see this unique idea of changing size, only it's not as big as changing your size category. You can, when you use this version of Disguise Self, seem 3 feet shorter than normal. Not taller anymore, just shorter, so that you can blend in with humans and elves. You also have a trait called Hidden Step. As a bonus action, you can magically turn invisible till the start of your next turn, or until you attack. Or if you make a damage roll, or force someone to make a saving throw. So, pretty standard invisibility rules there. Again, it's once per short or long rest. You get powerful build, like the Goliaths had, which gives you essentially one size larger size category when determining your carrying capacity for figuring out how much you can push, drag, or lift. You also get Speech of Beast and Leaf, which has been used hilariously at my table and is ridiculously ineffective. You have the ability to communicate in a limited manner with beasts and plants. They can understand the meaning of your words, though you have no special ability to understand them in return.
Yeah, the Tritons have the same thing with underwater creatures.
Yeah.
Same idea.
This really does feel like a blending between the Triton and the Goliath in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You have advantage on all charisma checks that you make to influence plants and beasts, which is fun. Dan has fucked that up at every opportunity, and it never works the way he wants it to. And in Volas, it says you can speak, read, and write Common, Elvish, and Giant. However, in Morty's Maniacs of Madness, you get a few updates which are a little bit strange. The Firbolg magic says that you can cast the Disguise Self and the Detect Magic spells using spell slots that you have as well. So they actually get onto your spell list. And you can, that means that you can use your spell slots to drop 3 feet in height more than once. You can use Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma as your spellcasting ability, but you have to choose it upon your character creation.
Wait, when you said you can use it more than once, are you talking about in the same time frame?
Yeah.
So dropping 6 feet? Because
No. So you can cast it between short rests.
Oh, okay.
Multiple times,
Yeah, I get
it. For your Hidden Step, you go from once per short or long rest to a number of times equal to your proficiency modifier per long rest.
I like that.
Yeah, that's the thing that I hate the least about what the Monsters of the Multiverse brought to the table.
Yeah.
I like using the proficiency modifier more, although it does make short rests less important. Although I like that because it makes the adventuring day go longer.
Yeah.
So the language in Speech of Beast and Leaf changes to add that you can talk to beasts and plants and vegetation. I guess this is because people were trying to talk to veggie pygmies and myconids and couldn't. Yeah. I can't imagine why else they, we added fungi, and that was an odd one. And now you just get, instead of Common, Elvish, and Giant, you get Common, and then a language that you and your DM agree on, which feels less unique and special and
uninspiring.
Yeah. Womp womp. And of course, like with all of these updates out of Morty's Tome of Idiocy, we have they remove the stat increases to just be whatever the fuck you want, right? So there are rules about 1 into 3 different kinds, or 2 into 1, or 1 another. Like, it's... I really like the racial limitation of what... of strategically trying to build a character, right? Without limitations, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Part of it I do, part of it I don't. I don't know. It feels like I like the idea of being able to more carefully craft a character around a class, but at the same time, I do kind of agree with you. I think they went too far with it.
Yeah, I think that you should have one of the traits be tied to class, or one to race, another one to background.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, well, let's do some inspiration.
Yay! Rolling dice. I rolled a 9. You bumped me to a 6. You missed me again.
Oh, 8! Oh, I get to go first?
I had a 19, but you bumped me to a 7.
Yes.
Good.
That's what you get.
I don't give a shit.
So what's one interesting reason why one of these creatures would become an adventurer? I really like the idea of was a young wildfire druid, not yet in full mastery of his powers, and he accidentally burnt down part of the forest he was living in and accidentally killed his brother. And so now he is exiled, and it becomes a question of, does he reject his heritage entirely? I mean, he's exiled, he can never go back. Or does he kind of seek to make up his mistakes somehow?
Yeah. I think... See, I could really get into one of these guys. These guys are me. If I was going to be...
You are a Firbolg.
Yeah. I will help people out when they need it, but it's very much a here's your thing, fuck off.
Yeah.
Go away. Leave me alone. Don't come around here. I suppose like there's some greater good I can get over stuff, and I hate nouns. Just as a generalized, rule. But no, like these guys, they speak to me.
Yeah, but what language do they use when they speak to you?
Common and whatever else the DM decides.
Fuck off. Yeah.
But I mean, a reason to adventure, when I think about a reasoning to adventure, it's, my city dweller is going out into the wilderness, but this is role reversal. Mm-hmm. So this may be a character that I would probably do a more city-based campaign in. You were complaining about Dan being in Ravnica with a Firbolg. No, I think that's where a Firbolg belongs. Because I think that there's more there to explore.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like that's my adventure hook, is I would put one of these guys in Sharn and not let him leave.
Sure, but Dan's character came from there to explore the wilderness.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's weird and ass backwards, but I mean...
But so's Dan, so there we go. Well, Dan backwards is Nad.
Well, he's ass backwards into a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's where I kind of land on that.
Honestly, when it comes to, okay, so I kind of have two answers for this. One of them is, I used to have a dwarf who was raised in a, orphanage that was attached to a nunnery.
Say it right. A dwarfenage.
A dwarfenage. Fuck off, Dave. I'm upset that I've never thought about that before. So anyway, but who had a vision from his god that there was going to be a specific player, or a specific person that was going to come and save them from an orc horde that was coming. And I made that one of the other players at the table. So I was on a quest at level 1, first session. You are the savior of my people. I have to make sure you live and train up so you can save us. And that was really, really beneficial for both me and him to have this kind of shared motivation moving forward. And I think that leans into Firbolg pretty well, right?
Yeah.
But I also like the idea of having all of, how all of the party members meet in a tavern for the first time, or you've all been summoned by the quest giver?
No, never done that.
Or you wake up in the prison together and you're like, oh, how'd you get here? Who are you? My name is, right? And you have that moment. I really want to play a character who doesn't get introduced until the last 10% of the first session. Right? Like, you guys have to go out into the wilderness to hunt down the kobolds that stole the blacksmith's daughter, or whatever bullshit that you're coming up with this week. Right? That first little thing, and you come into the Firbolgs territory. And I will be the person to just be like, hey, please leave. Mm-hmm. All right, fine. If you're going to come here, I will escort you through. Be nice to the trees. Don't trample the flowers. Right? And then realize that, hey, these guys could be up to some good. Maybe I will stick with them and we can protect other parts of nature as well. So,
all right. Cool. So what kind of insights do you have for players who want to explore role-playing this character? To be honest, I don't really know. It's a fun race, but it seems so narrow in its scope, right? You are a protector of the forest. You left the forest and you were just trying to get back home as quickly as possible. They don't like greed. They don't really care about naming things. Like, they are, I don't know, flat to me. They just don't seem like they have a whole lot of motivation other than...
Which is why
I'm offended.
So yeah, that's why Dave likes them so much, because he doesn't like to put that effort in.
It's not that
I know I'm fucking with you.
No, I don't think it's necessarily worth it, right?
So we all get different things out of the game. Right?
Yeah.
So
look, I spend 3 nights a week playing tabletop RPGs, and then other nights recording things. I spend a lot of time on this. It's not like I don't hate it. It's just it's not necessary. I'm doing just fine without it.
It's not like I don't hate it. So you do hate it?
Yes. I mean, I hate a lot of things. And a lot of people.
Well, you know what? Okay, so in our campaign currently, there is a guy playing a Firbolg, and he doesn't do a lot of any backstory or
anything.
Yeah, anything. So it's perfect for him.
He summons direwolves and casts Shillelagh and then doesn't use it.
Oh, so he picked the most druidic race he could find and said, "I'm gonna be a druid."
Yeah, he's also not strong in the spellcaster side of things.
Okay.
He's more of a martial character most of the time. But
honestly, when it comes to role playing, we have a character in the Sunday group who's playing a Loxodon cleric, and she's playing an elderly Loxodon cleric who is just a grandmotherly type. But her whole big thing is about the community that she's built, the people that she's with. This is my family, and I love them, and I'm building my own new family. I will do anything for them. And the longer I've known you, and the more we get along, the more I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you are okay. A Firbolg who's been exiled or can't go home for whatever reason, the home's been destroyed, who's trying to make a new clan find that sense of home again, would act, I think, a lot like that. Hey, I'm with this party, not because we're out adventuring, but because these are my new people. This is what I'm going to do. I'm along for the ride. Wherever we go, I'm with you, and I will protect you. I will help you. And we're going to be okay. And I would really want to tie that in so that when the idiot rogue or the, brash barbarian goes down in a fight and dies, I've actually got something to sink my teeth into from a role-playing side of things now, right? Like, oh my God, it's happening again.
Yeah.
Right? And now maybe I become a little bit angry and jaded for the next 3 sessions. There's something there for me to really dig at. The idea of trying to not return home, but build a new one out in the road makes some sense to me as a player.
Okay. So what class or subclass would be a good thematic fit for this race, and why? Druid, it pretty much screams it at you in the face. But I also really like the Wildfire Druid, right? And that's kind of why he would go away, because I've got this power and there's only so much I can do just at home. So it is traveling from forest to forest using his powers. I also think a rogue would work too, but just if you went scout or inquisitive. I think an inquisitive rogue would be pretty good for it too.
Yeah, I like the idea of a ranger for these guys as well. They scream, hanging out on the edge of the forest. Remember when they come out in Lord of the Rings, when they come out of the Mines of Moria and they go into the Lothlorien forest, and they are immediately met by the elves. Yeah, you're going to get immediately met by the Firbolgs when you travel into the forest.
I really do feel like they're more warrior cast than people realize, right? Like, they're going to sit there. They are gentle giants. They're like the fucking Hulk. Right? He just wants to sit by himself in the middle of the field and play with the butterflies and pick the flower and just be happy.
Oh, sounds great.
But if you piss him off, he will wreck your shit like nobody's business. Right? And I really do feel like that's the Firbolg. So my answer is barbarian. Right? I am slow to anger, but when I do, you will fucking regret it.
It goes into a rage almost.
Like the Lorax. Right? We are the Lorax and we speak for the trees.
I love it.
So what's one creative build that you would be excited to play as for this race? So I'm stealing from my previous answer, but a Wildfire Druid who's exiled.
Do you like Wildfire Druids, Kyle? Is that something we're learning about?
I do like them. I actually covered them in a previous episode as well, and I do like them, but I don't like how they don't upgrade through the tiers. Like the Wildfire Spirit is the same when you get level 3 as you have in level 20.
Good for a dip, not great for a full character. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do like it. I like the flavor of it, But yeah, so
Dave just rolled his eyes like, I have 2 fucking druids in my campaign, but next week I know it.
Yeah, no.
I will fold the campaign.
Burnt down part of the forest, killed his brother, and now the Wildfire Spirit he is sure is his brother.
Oh, cool.
Interesting.
Sad,
okay.
but okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So they travel around.
I like that. This is supposed to be unique, but again, I would probably go with Druid as well on this one, but I like the idea of a Spore Druid. To me, the Spore Druids are all about, like, the corruption of the natural world.
Hey, rotting to nothing is part of the natural cycle of life.
Right, but I mean, these guys would be, like, almost shunned from the regular Firbolgs. Like they're the weird hermit. They're part of the natural order, but not really.
It's like, oh, hey, you know what? All the Firbolgs up here, they live kind of in a mountainous region. They all protect and love all of the sheep and the mountain goats and the rams here. And then there's fucking Dave over in the corner wearing the ram's skull on his head going, meh.
Yeah.
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 All right.
Yeah. I'm all about it.
I really like the tie to the idea of family. So what's the ancestral guardian barbarian, right? So all of your ancestors manifest around you and guide you in your rage to put these fucking people down. These greedy bastards. Because every single enemy that exists out there is greedy somehow. Mm-hmm. And so it's great to have that motivation hard baked in to a playable race to say, hey, I hate people that are greedy. You're not going to get along with the rogue, which is weird that Dan's character has adopted the fucking party rogue. He doesn't know how to play a Firbolg is my point. Anyway, I wrote this whole episode so I could yell about this.
Let me be very clear. He also makes a very shitty bard as well.
Well, yeah, that's because he's tone deaf. I don't think he's editing this one, so I can't think. Why do you say he's a shitty bard?
Well, he's just, like, he keeps jumping into the middle of danger and getting killed. Or, doing death saves. Like, he's the one that...
Oh, he's always face down in the puddle.
Yeah. Like, someone over there needs saving and it's a big bad guy. That's a job for the barbarian with a pile of hit points. No. I'm the bard. I'm going to go over there and sing my way to glory.
Yep.
Fuck off.
Sing my way to glory.
Yeah.
You know what other class I really like for this one is College of the Spirits Bard, where they basically tell stories and then use that story to summon a spirit to attack with.
I also like Oath of Ancients Paladin for this as well, right? Like, your oath is to the nature gods.
Yeah.
And the way the natural world around you. That makes a lot of sense for these guys, right? Especially if they're out in the world looking to get revenge on whoever destroyed their clan. They don't necessarily have to be Oath of Vengeance. They could be just Oath of the Ancients. I'm going to use my power to smite you down so you don't do it again.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So now that we're done, which one of these would you be most interested in playing next?
Let's roll for it.
Yeah. All right.
Because I like dice.
Now you
roll another one.
Again.
Oh, you knocked me to a 19!
Yeah.
Yay, I win!
All right, Adam.
I've played a Goliath. I have just done an entire aquatic campaign. And I'm facing a fucking Firbolg right now. Honestly, of the group of them, I like Firbolg the best. I think Firbolgs
just not Dan's.
Just not Dan's. Well, if you play it properly. My big thing about Firbolgs is that I think they've got the richest lore. Mm-hmm. And the ability to detect magic is fucking powerful. We kind of skimmed on that before. But they can do that a number of times equal to the proficiency modifier per short or long rest. That's huge.
Yeah.
Is that magically trapped? Is there a secret magic thing about this door? Why can't we open it? Somebody rolled a 14 on their strength. Is it magical? No. Okay, so it's just do it again.
Yeah.
Right. So there are different things that you can do. Look, in previous editions, Firbolgs had the ability to detect magical auras. So this is a holdover. Right, the same way that it's the disguise self is the height stuff again, right? This is another holdover. And I'm fine with that. I'm also going to play it like it's a part druid or a part giant. Because giants are fun, and nobody in 5th edition is really playing with giants. And so, I'm all over giants at the moment. It's a lot of fun. So I'm really digging the Firbolg.
All right. Dave?
Probably Goliath. I think there's...
a simplistic beauty.
Yes, I also think, how Dan has his 3700 Oscar the Orcs?
Yeah.
I could make a Goliath character, like a legacy Goliath character. I could have fun with Firbolgs, I could have fun with Tritons, but I think if I was going to revisit a particular build over and over and over again, it could be a Goliath.
Well, that's because a Goliath is going to comfortably synergize with every kind of barbarian, paladin, fighter, and ranger that you ever want to play. All the D10 and D12 classes and subclasses out there. Right?
Sure, but I do think that the Triton is probably the most versatile of the three.
Assuming that you're near water. If you're playing a desert campaign or you're plane hopping. Or
Sure, but every race you look at, there's going to be a biome where they don't belong.
Yeah.
Right? But no, like the Triton, you could be any class with a Triton. I don't think you could be any class for the other two without making some like real leaps and bounds in your storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going with Goliath because I generally play like intelligent characters in a lot of spellcasting, and next time I just want to play something dumb and smashy.
Well, it's weird how much they like intelligence, though, right? Like that's
Yes, but I would look at that and say that they value intelligence, but not wisdom. So I would really make the intelligence wisdom difference apparent.
Well, okay, so it's funny in the write up for it in Volos is they go the Goliaths don't benefit from age-related wisdom because most of them don't make it that long.
Yeah.
There's no generational wisdom passed on. That makes sense. It's also why Outlander is good because you get proficiency in survival.
Yeah.
Which you need, but you're not going to be a strong wisdom class, right? So, like, it's good that you get that like right off the bat. So,
sure. Yeah. My other favorite thing about the Goliath, like absolute favorite thing we didn't touch on, is every time they awake from a short or a long rest, you get to say, Goliath online! And it just like scratches that itch for me.
End this goddamn episode.
So that's all for our discussion on Tritons, Firbolgs, and Goliaths. The next time we circle back to discussing playable races, we're going to be poking around at an environment that's just about as remote as you can get. It's going to be a wild ride, so make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and stalk us. Well, maybe don't stalk us. Adam, go for it. And don't forget to check back next week when we wrap up the last subclasses from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Can you figure out what they are?
Thanks for listening to another episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. If you'd like to support us, we have a donate button on our website, www.itsamimic.com, as well as a store for some titillating merchandise. We also rely on word of mouth to get news of the podcast out there to the community, so please pass the word to everyone you know that we're available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Tinder. As well as most other podcast apps. Thanks again for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
And Grinder. We are equal opportunity here.
Okay, I gotta spell it.
This has been an It's a Mimic production. Inquiries, requests, and questions for our mailbags can be sent to info@itsamimic.com.
Would you rather be 8 feet tall or be able to breathe underwater?
Breathe underwater.
Breathe underwater.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Really?
100%, yeah.
But then people walking down the street would be able to see how fucking awesome you are. Yeah. How often are you hanging around bodies of water?
How often am I walking down the fucking street?
Yeah, I would hang out in bodies of water all day if I could breathe underwater.
Yeah, if I could just go
true.
Nap underwater and nobody bugs me, sign me the fuck up.
Yeah. Also,
we could have you nap underwater. No one will bug you, Dave. We can do that right fucking
Great. Great.
Also, imagine being 8 feet tall. You have to get all your clothes tailor-made. You'd hit your head on fucking everything.
Yeah, doors would suck.
But you would get, like, NBA fucking scholarship, like, in a heartbeat.
Would you?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Shaq.
I don't know, man. Every time
That's
you
the
get...
whole argument. Shaq is it's one of...
Every time you get knocked over, it's like a big deal. You're gonna get hurt.
It's 1d6 damage every time you fall down.
Well, yeah, like, it's gonna suck.
I guess. I don't know. It's just like tall guys just would, like, you could demand more respect.
Sure, but I think that, like, ridiculously tall people are disproportionately skinnier, too.
Oh. That's not true. Okay, Shaq.
Yes, he's not 8 feet tall.
Isn't he?
Yeah, but you're thinking like the world's tallest man.
Yeah, like
right?
the taller people are normally a little more ganglier, you know?
Yeah, and you've got all your heart problems and your spinal issues. But then again, you don't have gills, and that's the thing I keep thinking about the boys.
All you said was breathe underwater. You didn't say anything about gills.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right, maybe you have some sort of butt breathing apparatus. Just in through the nose, out through the butt.
That's called farting, Dave.
Isn't that how turtles breathe?
That's not how farts work.
Should I be doing it wrong this whole time?
Like prepping buttholes.
I'm gonna prep tomorrow too.
Well, I'm just gonna let that ride because I have prepping buttholes now on it. So we've got that to use against you in the future. Whoever's editing this episode, that's going to the bloopers. No context, just Kyle saying prepping buttholes.
Yeah, I said Dave likes to prep buttholes.
Just Dave likes to prep buttholes. What Kyle just said. That's what are you prepping them for?
I will post that photo to social media. Kyle.
Holy shit! You don't record much these days anymore. Although I have you in here a lot this month.
It feels like I'm doing it relatively frequently.
Maybe you and I just aren't on episodes as much anymore.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
That's by design.
Yeah.
Well, I put that complaint into HR.
I'm sorry. Coffee whore day.
Thanks for listening. Bye.